Habitat for Humanity of Marion County is a ministry dedicated to improving lives by providing affordable and decent housing. Help them help others by visiting the Habitat for Humanity Ocala Restore at 926 Northwest 27th Avenue. To schedule a donation, give us a call at 401-0075 and we'll come pick it up. For more information, visit ocalarestore.org. Habitat for Humanity of Marion County. Building homes, building hope, building community.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
Ditch the foods that cause bloat and then eat more lean protein, berries, and fresh veggies. You do that, you can drop 5 pounds in a week. If you like to go to all your kids' recitals and never miss a sporting event, having a flexible schedule might be more appealing than a bigger paycheck. If you stop paying attention because you're tired or stressed, that is normal. But you may have ADD if you have difficulty with small talk.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
You've got a garden and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
We are The Source, WOCA.
Thank you, Dan. 25 minutes before 8 o'clock, a little bit overcast, 70 degrees here at the Paddock Mall. We've had our share of rain every day. Yesterday I kind of liked when it came down.
Yeah.
It came down in the middle of the day when it's the hottest. It cooled it down nicely, right?
Yeah, it did. It was great.
It's kind of an awesome looking front that went through yesterday, too. You could see it. You could be like a amateur meteorologist. You could pretend you knew something. Look, there's the front right there. That's a front right there.
That was cool.
You can't always see a front, I guess.
No.
Right? Well, this one you could see. It was really defined, right?
Yeah, it was.
It was like you had a clear sky and then like an exact line, not a straight line. It was like a curved line.
Yeah.
Where the storm was coming from.
It was something.
All right, let's see. Before we jump into the bias in the media discussion, which I can't wait to share with you, if you hadn't heard the blah, blah, blah thing, I'm saving that for last. I didn't hear it. You didn't hear it, right?
No, I didn't hear it.
Okay, so I don't know how many of you heard it. It did make the news, so maybe you did. All right, so let's see. Today there's a ribbon cutting at 4 p.m. This is for the Heart of Florida Health Center, and of course the ribbon cuttings are done through the Chamber and Economic Partnership here in Ocala, formerly known as the Chamber of Commerce. And the Heart of Florida Health Center is at 100 Marion Oaks Boulevard. You take I-75 down to 484, go west for about 1 to 2 miles. 1 to 2 miles. I guess they don't know exactly how far it is. It's 1 or 2. I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
Marion Oaks, of course, you know where that is. HFHC, the Heart of Florida Health Center, is just inside the entrance to the right. That should make it easy.
Yes.
Anyway, so 4 o'clock today, help them celebrate their business. And then Pinch a Penny Pool Supplies is having a ribbon cutting tomorrow. They are here in Ocala on East Silver Springs Boulevard. And the address is 3855. They are celebrating that. So there you go.
Right past the Kmart and Publix on 40 East.
And
east of that.
If you have a business and you would like to join the Chamber and Economic Partnership, it's pretty easy to do, I guess.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. I have no idea how easy it is. But I have a phone number.
Yeah.
My part's easy. I just tell you the phone number. Give them a call at 629-8051, 629-8051. Maybe a ribbon cutting would be the thing you need to introduce the community to your business. And, you don't have to be brand new to have a ribbon cutting.
No.
I don't know exactly what the rules are. You would ask them. But I know that some of these people who are having ribbon cuttings have been around a year or two, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. The pool supply place has been around forever.
Well, WOCA, we've been around since, 1957?
Yeah,
we had
exactly.
different call letters back then. But we are hopefully going to have a ribbon cutting. And we're celebrating the new location here at the Paddock Mall, which we're almost here a year now.
Yeah, almost.
Going on a year. It was last year, Robin, about this time. No, we weren't knocking down walls last year this time. It was earlier than that.
No, yeah.
Because by this point, they were already building this thing.
Yeah.
They didn't ask us to help build.
No.
we helped tear down the old walls.
Yeah, we're good at that.
Yeah, I'll never forget that experience.
No, it was huge.
All right, so let's talk about bias in the media. So the idea for this segment came from an interview with Ben Jones. Ben Jones is a congressman, but he was an actor. He played the role of Cooter on the Dukes of Hazzard TV show.
Okay.
He's not in Congress right now, but he was. Anyway, he says what defeated Eric Cantor was hubris. It's a word I didn't know.
Oh, I have to ask you what it means.
Let me look it up. I know what he meant because in context it made sense.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to show you in a second his soundbite. So hubris, Hubris, is how it's spelled. It is excessive pride or self-confidence.
Oh, there you go.
In Greek tragedy, in Greek tragedy, excessive pride toward or defiance of the gods, leading to nemesis.
Oh, there you go.
Hubris, a new word for me. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, Ben Jones is on in an interview, and I apologize. I don't know who he's talking to in this interview. But anyway, so here's one of the clips of Ben Jones. I want to make sure I do these in order because the best is saved for last.
I love that.
the blah 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 conversation. Well, anyway, so I'm doing this to show you how I came to the idea of doing a little piece on bias in the media. So here's Ben Jones. Sorry, it's hard to shake it.
Yeah.
When we had Max Baer on, I kept calling him Jethro.
Jethro, yeah.
I know, it's not good. But anyway, he's not Cooter. He is Ben Jones, and he was a congressman. So here's, and apparently he sent out a letter. He's a Democrat, by the way, and he urged Democrats in the election of Eric Cantor, in the district to vote in the Republican primary. Urged Democrats to vote in the Republican primary for Tea Party candidate Dave Brat, as you know who won. Okay, so some are saying that letter helped Brat win. So here's part of the interview on CNN. I think I'm going to take a risk and tell you the agency. I think it's CNN.
What defeated Eric Cantor was hubris. You know, the Greeks warned against that, and all those old Greek dramas. Hubris. He got above his raisin. He got too big for his britches.
All right, so there you go. That's the hubris line. And he said in the interview, he said, "Democrats love me. The Tea Party loves me." And then he said that will last about 20 minutes. Cantor is not the first Republican leader Jones is taking credit for troubling, though. After Jones's 2 terms representing the state of Georgia, he was defeated by Newt Gingrich, who later went on to become House Speaker. Jones filed an ethics complaint against Gingrich, leading to years of problems that ended in Gingrich's paying a $300,000 fine.
Wow.
So, in other words, Cooter.
Yes.
Cooter has been around for a while, starting some trouble. All right, but that is really not. I don't want to lose track of what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about bias in the media. The bias in the media idea came from the comment of the lady who was interviewing him, and I apologize, I do not know her name, but here it is.
I'm curious, though, because people are trying to determine, is this a sign of the rise of the far right, or is it something else? And
this was a coalition. I said that everybody was in, but the Republican Party, mainstream Republicans, if there such exist, moderate Republicans, independents, libertarians, Tea Party, everybody got in there and just got rid of this guy.
All right, so just real quickly, again, let's listen to what she says.
I'm curious, though, because people are trying to determine, is this a sign of the rise of the far right?
Okay, so she's interjecting a question that is there to get the viewer to say, yeah, that's what it is. It's an indication of the rise of the far right. You know, whether or not he is in the far right, and I don't mean
Ben Jones.
I don't mean Ben Jones. I mean Brat, the guy Brat. Okay, thank you. I always forget people's first names. All right, so then I started thinking, well, that was bias, and it was a form of bias. So I started doing a little bit on this. There are different forms of bias, as you know. You can omit something. intentionally. That's a great way to show bias.
Oh, right.
A couple of good examples are, let's see, in 1 month, TV news gave less airtime to the VA scandal than to the Christie controversy.
Oh, my.
The Christie controversy got more coverage in 4 days than the VA scandal. Another one is if you have to go back in time to when NBC reported the trips to Afghanistan by President Bush, George W. Bush, and President Obama's visit to Afghanistan. If you look at both those reports, you have to kind of go back into the archives, which is not hard these days. Just go to YouTube and look it up. And you'll see, you have to listen carefully to the way it's presented. It's presented in such a way that that Bush was wrong. He shouldn't have gone, and the same thing. And he's using it as an ulterior motive. He's trying to divert our attention, And meanwhile, when Obama was there, NBC was very, very complimentary of it. And yet, and just to be fair here, those people who are against Obama did the exact same opposite. And you have to go back and just listen to some of those pieces. Anyway, so this is really not about that again. It's easy to be sidetracked with this discussion because there are certain emotional buttons that we're pushing here, but just focusing on the bias part of this.
That's a good idea.
So you can leave things out. You can have you can select your sources. You can do that. When we do News Bites in the morning, you might notice, for those of you who pay attention, that we include the Jerusalem Post, which has a bias in favor of Israel, of course.
Yes.
But we also have other publications that are the opposite, and forgive me for not knowing. We have The Guardian, which is like a British perspective on things.
Yeah.
We often include CNS, which is the Christian news service, which they have their agenda as well. Okay.
Yeah.
We have NBC, we have ABC, we have CNN, we have Fox, which everybody always says is the opposite of all the others.
Yeah.
But we try to use them in News Bites so that our selection does not label us as being biased. Now, the stories themselves might have some slant to them, and therefore the stories themselves. But this is a wonderful, and I'm not kissing up to any of you, because I'll argue with you in a heartbeat. But the truth is, this is a very smart audience. And they know. They can see right through it. They know when it's biased. And I love that. That's not necessarily true for every news junkie. But anyway, so I just love that. Okay. You can be biased by story selection. We just kind of mentioned that. By the placement of your stories, where you put it.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of things you're talking about around it. You can use labeling. I've often pointed that out. You can use adjectives, right? You can spin it, and a lot of stories are spun in a certain way, and that's the worst kind, I think, if you were to ask me.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to show you now the blah, blah, blah story.
Okay.
This is the part I would wait for. So there were reporters. This is early in May, and again, some of you may have seen this on the news already. Let me make sure I get my news bites here already.
Okay.
I mean my sound bites. Let's see. Staffers at the weekly newspaper Willamette Week, this is in Oregon, recently met with Oregon Republican U.S. Senate candidates seeking an endorsement, and things got dramatic. After one of the reporters was caught by one of the candidates scribbling blah, blah, blah on his notepad while another candidate spoke. Now, the other candidate was not in the room. She was on a speakerphone.
Oh.
Candidate Mark Callahan chastises reporter Nigel Jacques, I'm going to take a shot at how to pronounce his name, for mocking the candidate on the phone, who was Jo Ray Perkins. She was giving an answer, and admittedly, it was a long answer. She took her time answering and did a little bit of political jibber-jabber herself. But still, this is what happened. So let me play the first soundbite from that meeting. All right, just so you understand, that hard to hear part right there, I don't expect you to be able to hear that. That's just Jo Ray Perkins speaking on the speaker phone.
Okay.
Okay, so let me start that over.
Okay, thank you.
You want to talk about disrespect? I see what you're writing down there. You just wrote down blah, 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 blah for everything that Joe Ray said. Joe Ray is a respectable woman. Mark. Why are you not respecting her by writing blah, 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 blah on your notepad?
Mark. All right. So okay, that was clear, right? That was yes. That's Mark Callahan. He's also a candidate, and he's calling out a reporter. He can look across the table and see the reporter's notepad. Mm-hmm. It's upside down from his perspective, but he can still read the words blah, 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 blah. All right. And he's absolutely right. That was very disrespectful. And Mark Callahan is, I think that was awesome that he did that and called out the reporter, not Joe Ray Perkins, Nigel Jacquis, something like that. All right. So, and I know this is kind of old news. It was last month, but
yeah, but this is great.
But you hadn't heard it, and I hadn't heard it, and I didn't know how many of our listeners had heard it. But anyway, here's the next soundbite that I have from that moment.
We're going to move on. I'm going to ask you a question, and if you answer respectfully, we might be willing to.
You have to give respect in order to get respect.
so now it's his turn. Now it's his turn. And he's going to have some questions asked of him. So I'm going to ask you some questions now, and you have to answer respectfully. And of course, as you just heard, he says you have to give respect to get respect. Mm-hmm. All right, so let me see if I can cue it back to this spot, and we'll take it from there.
In order to get respect. Right now, on that side of the table, you're not giving very much respect to the five of us in our time here.
Wasting by doing this?
I just see what your colleague here is putting down in his notepad, and he put down blah, 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 when Joe Ray was giving a very detailed and descriptive answer.
All right, so again, he's pointing out that the reporter, Nigel Jacquis, is writing blah, 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 and this upset him. This upset him, and rightfully so. Now, he's sitting right there, so I doubt that the reporter would have taken that chance to write blah, blah, blah when he started talking, but he did take advantage of the fact that the candidate, Joe Ray Perkins, was not in the room.
Yes, okay. that is an advantage.
All right, so he's writing blah, blah, blah. This guy gets upset. Now here comes the craziest thing. These are journalists with the newspaper, the Willamette Week.
Okay.
I don't know much about it, but anyway. So here's the next soundbite.
Here's my question: climate change. Do you believe that's a myth or a reality?
It's a myth.
It is.
Yes.
All right. So what you heard right there, he was asking. He said, "Do you believe that climate change is a myth or a reality?" And he says, "It's a myth." Okay. So let me just cue it up to where we left off right there. I just want to make sure you could hear that.
Myth or reality?
It's a myth.
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
Where are you on the Easter Bunny?
What's that?
I said, where are you on the Easter Bunny?
So could you hear the other guy?
Oh, yeah.
The other guy. Now this is the guy Nigel Jacquis. This is the reporter who was caught doing blah blah blah.
Yeah.
He says, "Where are you on the Easter Bunny?"
Yeah.
Where are you on the Easter Bunny?
That is so childish.
He can't have an opinion about global warming. That's opposite of their opinion. So
where are you on the Easter Bunny?
Sorry, let's go back.
Are these really the questions that I was called here to answer to quote moving code? Really?
Representative,
I called you out for putting blah, 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 blah on your notepad, and now you're asking me questions like this? Really? Really? Are we talking about this now?
Let's move on.
Okay, how about you ask a very serious and respectful question instead of asking a little childish question?
All right, so he's calling him on it, and I love this. I love this. I mean, he sees something that he feels is disrespectful, and I think he's right. Mm-hmm. And then to add more disrespect to the room, the same guy who's writing blah 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 says, "Do you believe in the Easter Bunny?" When he answers his honest feel, what do you think? What do you think about global warming? This is a wonderful question, isn't it? What do you believe about global warming? You know, the answer here's the tip for all candidates. Here's your answer. Your answer should be, "I'm not a scientist, but I understand scientists are looking into it."
There you go. That's
the way I understand this.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about it? You know, I don't have much to say about it because I'm not a scientist. Mm-hmm. Well, you're going to be making policy based on those scientific discoveries. Absolutely. I'm also going to be making policy based on what my constituents want. That's what a representative does, pal.
That's right.
You're not supposed to do. All right. So where did I leave off there? What was the last thing I played?
Climate change.
Oh, the climate. Okay. So let's go back now to after he is asked about the Easter Bunny, and they're trying to call order in the room or something.
I'll stipulate.
Are these really the questions that I was called here to answer to quote movie code? Really?
Representative,
I called you out for putting blah, 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 blah on your notepad, and now you're asking me questions like this? Really? Really? Are we talking about this now?
let's move on.
Okay, how about you ask a very serious and respectful question instead of asking a little childish question?
Mark, I just asked you if climate change was a myth.
And I answered your question.
So can I now move on and get the response from someone else? And if you're not going to let me, I'm going to ask you to leave. Okay?
Oh?
That's 2 strikes.
Who do you think you are?
Okay, you may leave now.
You may leave now.
Oh my gosh.
You may
Oh
leave now.
my gosh.
You're done. You may leave now. You may leave now. You're a little kid.
Oh my
You are being disruptive. You were offended because we asked you about the Easter Bunny, and that doesn't sit well with me, mister. You're out of here. I'm getting rid of you right now because I got the power to do so.
That's right.
And I love when he says, "Who do you think you are?"
Yeah.
Who do you think you are?
Exactly.
Mr. Big Shot.
That's right.
Who do you think you are? All right, one more soundbite. Here we go.
This is neither a fair or a balanced meeting. This is
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
This is the guy. This is the guy who's heading the meeting. He comes right out and says, "This is not a fair or a balanced meeting." All right, sorry, I had to listen to that again.
fair or a balanced meeting. This is a meeting for us to do.
I know it's a meeting being asked by disrespectful, thin-skinned liberals like yourself. There's the door.
There's the door.
There are things to do with my time.
You clearly do.
This is where he gets up and
Can
leaves.
you answer the question about climate change?
Yes, I actually view.
He says you clearly didn't answer the question about climate change, and at this point, Mark Callahan leaves the room. So no real question was asked.
No.
Of Mark Callahan.
No.
He answered no. He answered honestly, and then they say he didn't answer at all. You didn't answer the question. And then they get upset because he got upset at the Easter Bunny question.
Yeah.
And they get upset because he called out the other reporter for writing blah, blah, blah. I don't know what the Willamette Week is. If anybody knows and you're going to call me and tell me, "Oh, come on, Larry, that's like Mad Magazine," then I guess I'll get it. But then why would a candidate go to that kind of an interview?
Exactly. And the thing about climate change, he was asked one or the other. Do you believe it's a myth or true? And he answered it's a myth. I mean, he's got 2 choices there.
Yeah.
He didn't dance around it. He picked one of the choices. So he answered the question.
So there's an example of bias, I guess, in the making, because the whatever story they ended up publishing clearly reflected what you just heard right there, and probably gave it a different spin
Yeah.
than I'm giving it.
And then the moderator asks him to leave. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing. How beep.
Get out of here, young man! You are misbehaving.
All those.
Get out of here! All right, let me go to the phone real quickly and squeeze in some thoughts from our listeners. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, don't keep me waiting too long.
I'm sorry, Norm. How you doing?
I'm almost
I got a show to do. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, global warming, biggest protection racket on Earth. Mother Nature's going to take care of that. Nobody's going to control the climate. And the other thing is, I was thinking about Will Rogers and blah, blah, blah. He once said, the 2 parties, he said, are accusing each other of lying, so he said there's a 50-50 chance somebody isn't telling the truth.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And the other one was, I never saw a politician with his hands in his own pockets.
Yeah.
And, the comment said, now we got a guy in the White House that knows how to get us out of war. Lose. That's all I got for this morning.
And you waited a long time for that. Thank you, Norm. I appreciate that.
Good day to you.
Thank you. Always good to hear from Norm. If I keep you waiting, just remember, I am trying to do a show here, and I will get to you eventually.
Yeah.
Usually. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Larry Robin.
Hey, Sonny.
Just goes to show you that the media is not held to any standard or accountability. Now, when I say accountability, you can get these people, if you're willing to go through the expense and have them go through the expense to defend themselves in court. I mean, the media there is no news reporters today. There's nothing but babbling boobs and bobbing heads. That's my answer to that. Thank you.
And thank you, Sonny. And just to add one extra thing, the sound bites you just heard came from the video, which is like over an hour long, that was released by the Willamette Week newspaper.
Gosh.
In other words, they released it. They released it thinking it was going to make them look good.
Makes them look bad.
How? Yeah. They released it thinking, look, we're going to make this guy look like an idiot. This Mark Callahan guy. They thought it was going to make him look like an idiot. What the heck were they thinking?
We're going to move on.
We're going to move on.
Question.
Yes, your
If
question.
you answer respectfully, we might be willing to let
You have to give respect in order to get respect.
Yeah, you tell him, Mark. Thank you for that.
Good job.
All right. Well, anyway, bias in the media. I think you all knew this already. I didn't tell you anything new. You know there's bias in the media. Does that mean we shouldn't pay attention to the news? I think it means we have to pay attention to the news closer than ever because the news is in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But there's also spin in almost everything you hear, and that has to be so carefully guarded against simply because, somebody who knows more about how bias and how spin has affected us throughout history would probably be able to tell us and give us examples of how wars were started with spin.
Exactly.
Wars. All right, let's move forward. We're up against the clock. All right, this is WOCA Ocala. Fox News is next, and we'll be back. Deal?
Deal.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Parts of Iraq once secured by our forces are being seized by militants.